Welcome to another edition of the Peel Guys. We
What
did
it's
what?
what?
We
Huh?
took what? 10 days off,
In 10
12 days
days.
off, week and a half. Yeah, it was 10 days.
Is it 10 days?
Yeah,
Something
something like
like
that.
that. Yeah, I
Um,
don't know. Our schedule's so out of whack.
right. But welcome to this week's edition. Um, got a few things to talk about today. Uh, as soon as we finished the show last week, a couple days later, Dynamo made signing. Really, the only big one in the offseason. Pretty sure Josh has a lot to say about that, or lack of. Uh,
Yeah. Wait, the only big one? I mean, they got Marcelo Palomino and Darwin Quintero.
yeah, golf clap. We've got that. We do have qualifiers coming up, which I did forget to put in the show notes, and I'll read those at the end. We have Olympic qualifiers for the women that I just want to run through real quick. We've got preseason schedules coming out. We've got Victor Araiza coming on tonight, probably around the 7:30 mark if you're watching the live show. Um, Today was the first day of training for the Dynamo, so we've got that to cover, how the team look, all that good stuff. And any other questions, also in the chat, if you guys have any questions for Victor when he's on, shoot him out there and we'll ask him. What else we got?
we got my
Go
team shit in the bed too. My other team.
The Rockets.
Sorry, I'm bitter right now. That was a
Um,
bad loss.
but before we get too deep, because I need to make this a habit, go ahead and give this video a like, share it, all that good stuff. Go ahead and follow us on Twitter at the Peel05. Go ahead and follow us on Facebook at the Peel05. We have an Instagram, also the Peel05. If you ever want to shoot us an email, even though we never.
No, I'm
What was
telling our audience that they're all down there if you miss it.
Yeah, they're all in the description. They're also all in the bottom of the screen down there. I don't know why I pointed to my phone. Also, right in the description, the first part of the description, we are also taking tips now. So if you can, definitely shoot us a couple tips our way. This will help us promote the show on Facebook and Twitter. And then I think I can also pay for ads on YouTube somehow or another. This will also help us grow this show, get a bigger audience, because we really do enjoy getting feedback and stuff from you guys. And when you guys tune into the show, it actually helps us take this show and move it along. And sometimes the discussion pushes the show, and it's really good a lot of times.
And the fact that at this point we really need to get to have people, or at least show the Dynamo that people are talking about the team for good and for bad, and I think that puts a lot of pressure on FO, or at least you would hope so. So we actually have our first donation right now. Harry just tipped us $10. Thank you so much for your donation.
Damn, Harry, thanks,
bro. Good man, Harry.
That's badass. I thoroughly appreciate it, guys. But let's see, we're already about 3-4 minutes in. So what do you guys want to do first? You guys just want to talk about the lack of moves, talk about the only move that we haven't covered so far?
I think we should start with the lack of moves.
So, Josh, do you want to do your rant now or later?
I mean, well, look, hey, I'm not gonna go onto a full-on rant. I know you're excited about that, but
what a
this team doesn't deserve this team doesn't deserve a rant right now.
Why?
When we're about halfway into the season and our team's not doing shit, then they'll get a rant for the fact of because if I go out and rant and then they actually do something, then it's gonna be all for nothing. But after all that being said, I still don't feel any energy coming from this. I know that there was a video posted on Twitter of Matt Jordan. He was asked about, more player movement before the window closes, and pretty much just basically saying, this is what we got, They're happy with what they got. They're happy with the signings. They're really, really big on Darwin Quintero, Marcelo Palomino. It'll be interesting to see how Tab Ramos. Because honestly, that's kind of what I'm leaning the most on is Tab Ramos right now.
Yeah.
We haven't seen him coach this team. This is a new team.
I think he is going to be the only positive before the season starts to get fans really hyped up. I mean, the guy has a pretty proven track record, at least on the international level or national team level, should I say. So there's a lot of hype there, and I'm curious to see what he does get out of his players. And I don't think Tab's going to be the guy that is going to roll over and just let his players do whatever. I mean, he's going to ask a lot of them, and they're all going to be held responsible. So if Elise lays an egg one day and just doesn't seem like he's really all in it, I don't think that Tab's going to be is going to second guess pulling him out of a match or benching him prior to a match because he was,
I mean, anytime a new coach comes in, it's always got to be kind of press a restart button for all the players, that they're going to have to earn their spots again, their starting spots. Obviously, you're gonna have Mara.
Josh, not to interrupt you, but this is good. Sly Rooster says Tab making lemonade out of watermelons. Solid.
Yes, we will. Yes, I look. I like I said, I don't have much energy personally for it. I will be there opening day game. I'm always gonna rep my team, but as far as like an optimistic standpoint, it's very hard to be optimistic.
So let me ask you this, because Sly brought up a good point. When we were at the first Dynamo Fans for Change meeting, and Matt Jordan said there is a list that he was given or has given to Gabriel Brenner.
I think it was backwards. I think it was Gabriel Brenner.
Backwards, excuse me. Gabriel.
Correctly, he said
we never
gave Matt Jordan a list of players that I think he said kind of like high impact players that he was interested in bringing.
So where are these players then? I mean, was this list really Marcelo Yeah, I mean, was that really the list? That and Marcelo Palomino? Because
Can I also say this too? Does Gabriel Brenner know that much about soccer? That he knows these players? I've never heard of Marich.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he could. We'll get into his stats here in a little bit. I mean, because he does have some positives, but there's also a big unknown about him too. Maybe I should say unproven this. But I don't know. Like I wish.
Don posted. He says Brenner asked Jordan to make the list of high impact players.
Yeah.
So Jordan was putting the list together.
So where are these players? Or is this the players that are on that list?
Matt Jordan,
because you can't tell me that. Look, Marcelo Palomino might end up being another really good Dynamo diamond in the rough player. Okay, but you can't tell me that Gabriel Brenner is going to put him on a list because he knows him.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, the only time Gabriel Brenner ever heard of him was when he went on that trial to Porto. That's probably the only time he's ever heard of him.
And how can you how can you in your right mind call an academy player a high impact player when he hasn't played professional minutes even in the USL? You can't say that. And now Marriage, like you said, who knew him outside of the realm of those who watched the Norwegian league or anything like that?
Bundesliga.
Yeah, and even then it was what lower tiered like.
Yeah, he did get I gotta break it down, but I mean he's been around.
But
he played Hoffenheim, Hoffenheim 2, Hannover 96, loan after loan after loan.
But it's not something where you can say, oh, this is a high impact player like Lucas Elarayan or what's this, Renato Ibarra, where the rumors linking him to Inter Miami, or all these other signings that other teams in MLS have done. You can't compare Marko Maric to all these other truly high impact players. Now, will they make an impact in MLS? The coin is still up in the table, obviously, because up in the air because the season hasn't started. But If you tell me
now
that we're bringing in high impact players, and you bring in these players that aren't very well known. Marcelo Palomino is known because he's an academy player, and we have a lot of high hopes for him. But he's not a high impact player, that we're to make a huge fuss about. And you look at this, and Matt Jordan is saying our team is 85-90% complete. You can.
What does that even mean?
Does he even believe in himself? Does the organization listen to this and say and actually believe what they're saying? I can't. I don't see it. I don't see how Matt Jordan can tell us with a straight face because he could. He is that good at his job as far as trying to speak in all sorts of nothingness, but being able to convince you of that nothingness and tell you with a straight face that our roster is 85%, 90% complete. Come on.
So from a fan perspective, and me being in retail, man. Okay, so as a fan not a fan. Let's say I like to watch soccer. I don't watch a lot of MLS and stuff. So where's my motive to go watch a Dynamo game? Because I don't know any of these guys.
Mm-mm.
And I mean, hell, if I go to the stadium to watch Chicharito their first game, what's to say I'm going to go back?
Right.
Somebody posted,
I mean, just one game's not going to change.
And somebody posted on Twitter about that aspect is you have a lot of people here in Houston that go for other teams. What has the Dynamo done to attract them?
Exactly. There's not a lot of growth.
Jorge brings up a good point. I mean, Marco's is probably going to be good, at least on the MLS level.
I'm not hating on Marco.
No.
The goalkeeper, I'm not hating on him. I want to see him obviously play with us, but it's nothing against the quality that he's going to provide. But it's for the fact of, you got a lot of fans, pretty much all the Dynamo fans, they want a name player. Look at all these people who are, that have come up, through MLS is what we've heard, Ignacio Piatti and stuff, hell, I would even take him at this point.
So there is something that's standing out just a little bit about Marco. When he was with, was it Illestrom? I'm not good with my Swedish or whatever club he came from, but out of 67 appearances, he gave up 104 goals. That's a lot of goals in a very little amount of games.
I mean, you also have to take into consideration what kind of defense he had in front of him. I mean, we were all high on bringing in Jurado from Veracruz. We knew he had the talent, but he had a bunch of traffic cones in front of him as defense, and of course he was going to leak in a lot of goals. So, I think as far as that stat alone, yes, it does say a lot, but you got to look at the context as well if we want to judge if he is good or not. However, like you said, we're not saying that Marco Maric is bad, but is he that high impact player that we were promised by the FO? Definitely not. And that's the point I think all three of us are trying to make.
Yeah. So the other thing that I wanted to bring up, and Josh was talking about this prior to the show, is Lester brought this up on Twitter, was this on the 16th. Currently right now that what's his name? Wait for it to pop up. There it is. Duncan Turnbull, our draft pick this year, goalkeeper. He is currently training with the Premier League, which was originally a 1-week stint. I'm guessing he's still there, and he has interest from England and Scotland. So right now he's probably not here. And then Marco doesn't even have his visa. So that still leaves us with one goalkeeper right now, as of right now. That's if Turnbull ends up coming back or not.
I'm going to say, and also if that happens to, knock on wood, what happens if he gets injured in preseason in this Tucson tournament?
Who, Michael Nelson?
Yeah.
Or Turnbull?
Oh, Michael Nelson.
Yeah. Then the Dynamo have to fight and scratch and do whatever they need to do to get Marco's visa processed faster, or tell England or Scotland.
Or they'll end up they're going to end up having to call up Ben Wellis from RGV.
Okay, so let me throw this out there. What are the odds? Because I don't think he's been picked up yet. What are the odds that Dynamo are still waiting to see what happens to Tyler Derrick?
I don't know, man.
Kind of talking about Tyler Derrick. Don asked what we do we think that March is an upgrade over Willis or Derrick?
I think he is. He has played with better organizations than the Dynamo.
Yeah, I think the competition could be a little bit different too.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, a lot of European signings, I feel that they have a little bit more competition prior to coming to MLS. That's just my take. Now, do they translate that over to MLS? Not all the time.
True. I'm trying to think of big goalkeepers that were brought over, and other than the two Americans.
Yeah, Guzan and Howard.
Yeah, has there been a big European splash goalkeeper in MLS?
Until recently, where there were rumors that Joe Hart wanted to come to Minnesota United. But why are you gonna spend a lot of money that you have on your salary cap to bring in a keeper? If you're gonna splash money defensive wise, why not do it on a defender? I mean, that's my take on it.
Yes, more athletic, better on one-on-ones from the highlights I've seen.
Jorge is younger. Yeah. So I mean, that's always a plus too. But it's a goalkeeper, man.
But the Dynamo have this issue with finding these early 20 players who they think are diamond in the roughs and just need to be polished, and they don't pan out. Is Marco that same thing? I mean, he's only 24 years old. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, the guy has potential, and then you have Elise has been the outlier. He's been really good. Mauro Manotas, also an outlier. I think he's going to go to Europe or in the middle of summer. That's just me. But then you have Kyoto. Kyoto wasn't old. Kyoto was a dumpster fire. You have Tomas Martinez.
Where he didn't want
Correct. Then you have Tomas Martinez, who the Dynamo were extremely high on. I don't think he's your answer going into next season. I mean, you kind of have to keep him this season, but I think you move on from him too. But when are the Dynamo going to stop doing this? Oh, well, they're good, they're young, they're just unproven. How many times have we heard the unproven phrase from Matt Jordan and his organization when it comes to players that they've brought in as of recently?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to be doing that, I mean, that's why you have RGV. I mean, to polish them up into the American system before putting him in MLS. But it seems that he can't even do that right either.
Yeah.
But that's a dead horse that we've beaten to.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's why I'm just like, what's the point in that?
Yeah.
I mean,
Josh, I see it like just a huge sigh getting ready to come out of you, just like.
I'm mad, man. No, I'm not mad. I'm not mad. No, I'm not even disappointed because I'm like, oh god, another year.
Are you just more like just let down, if anything?
A little bit. I and look, and everything that I say, is a lot of it's like, man, please prove me wrong. Mm-hmm. Just prove me wrong. Do it, and I'll eat my words because that would be the happiest time for me. Is like you go out and prove me wrong, But man, I mean, and by the way, if they're talking about not to kind of change subjects, but like attendance, this is going to be like the highest in ticket sales and all that stuff. Man, I've seen that stadium packed. Are you kidding me? Like, you really think that this team that you're fielding right now, that you're going to end up fielding, is going to be the team that these fans
and
want.
I think there's something that I think that the Dynamo front office kind of fails to understand is that gimmicks and giveaways can only get you so much to help attendance. At the end of the day, what's gonna make higher attendance more consistent is results on the field, and that's Matt Jordan's job. And apparently, he has not done that right all these years. And if you want me to be honest, I don't think as long as Matt Jordan is on the helm, I don't think that this team is ever going to be improving if they're just going to be moneyballing all this time.
So,
sorry, I was reading what Jorge just posted.
Which name?
Jorge, never.
Tomas.
The new number 10.
Yeah, Tomas. Regarding Tomas. Because I was going to point out, Don's comment said Tomas Martinez was signed from Braga B, but he's our idea of a big name.
And I
signing.
think the only reason he was considered a big signing was because of what academy he came out of. If I'm not mistaken, he came out of the River Plate Academy.
He had a lot of high hopes too, and it's just I
think you're right on that. Yeah, he did have a lot of high hopes, and he was
not just from us. It was
around the league.
Not just the league, but from where he came. Yeah, I mean, they had high hopes on him.
I'm gonna play.
So that's why it was a big.
I'm gonna play a little bit of devil's advocate here, but do you think that maybe the fact that how the defense plays a little bit more centered, like into the middle of the field, compared to maybe other leagues that are where the outbacks are a lot more wider on the pitch? Do you think that might be the reason why Tomas Martinez can't seem to find any space in his play? Because I mean, that's what they're bringing him for, to try to find some space for Mauro, for Elise, or for Kyoto at that time. But the fact is, you look at MLS defending, and you see your left backs and your right backs, and they tend to be more closer to the middle of the pitch that they are out towards the ends, which really minimizes the space he can try to play through. And that, like I said, that's just me playing devil's advocate. I do agree that it's time to move on from Tomas Martinez, but I'm just kind of leaving it out.
I mean, look, if you can get somebody in the midfield who's actually able to play in the center. Because typically what a lot of these teams were approaching us was just protect the wings. We've got to stop Kyoto and Elise. Mm-hmm. Well, now you got just Elise, I think that if they end up, exploiting that, it could work potentially, but I don't know. I honestly don't even want to talk about tactics right now because I don't know how Tab Ramos is going to approach all of this.
No, and luckily though, with my new work schedule, I'm going to try to make it out to practices on Thursdays, first thing in the morning. So actually, I forgot about that, Edson. No, Tuesdays is going to be my days off, so I'll check it out Tuesday morning.
I do. Yes, I am big on Marcelo Palomino. Obviously, they saw something in him. I want to see it. Don says play Quintero as a 10 and Memo and Elise out wide.
I could see that, and I think I'd enjoyed that actually.
Yeah.
Quintero's a number 10. I think him linking up with Christian Ramirez again is going to be very big this year. But I expect, I don't know where I was going with that, but with Christian Ramirez, I expect huge things from him getting a full season here.
Yeah, that is that is a player. I am happy to have Christian Ramirez.
He lit it up at the end of the season.
He did. And I mean, it's a potential men's national team player.
Yep.
So I mean, it should be. I am excited for him at least. I want to say the same about Albert Felice and Mauro Manotas, but I don't feel like we're going to have them this whole season, so I can't really say much on it.
Yeah.
We have them right now, but
give us what they can while they're here.
So
yeah.
I want to talk right now, and I think this is something that not a lot of people have talked about, at least in social media, is the actual like depth. Like, yeah, we don't have the big name signing, but as far as depth, and this is another reason why that comment by Matt Jordan irked me of being 90% complete, is you look at the depth, you look at how we fared last season and how we struggled with depth and how that affected us. And you look at our roster now, and I think the midfield is the huge question mark as to how, if we have enough depth for it. Up on top in the attack, you have rumors of Manotas and either Manotas or Elise or both leaving the Dynamo within the year, and somehow this roster is complete. I mean, what do y'all think of it? And you out in the chat as well. Do we have?
They were gonna bring up Chu Enrique. Wait.
No, it's okay. It's okay. They're in Houston Dynamo's other farm team, San Antonio FC. Actually, no. Well, hold on. Let me take that back. The Dynamo is San Antonio FC's farm team.
Shade. I think Josh is dying a little bit inside.
I don't care. Whatever, I'm over it. I don't care. Just all right, whatever. I guess we'll.
Jorge brought up a good point, and look, I'm pretty sure.
Sorry.
Good.
I'm gonna refer this to the NFL, dude. We're the Cleveland Browns. We're gonna be the Cleveland Browns. God. Like, you're trash for so long.
So much potential.
And then you go out. Then you go out and sign. You go out and sign a bunch of has-been players, and you're still trash.
Oh man.
Sorry.
Yeah. Jorge brought up a good point, and I'm pretty sure Josh feels the same way I do. Jorge said more goals than Zardes, and he didn't get the call. Another day to discuss. Josh and I could probably go on a 3-hour rant about how bad Zardes really is and why we can't understand why he gets called up.
Because Yossi Zardes scores the most fucking Zardes goals of all time. Like, what the hell, man? He's invented a new striker position. I call it the striker post position because a winger can just bounce the ball off him and go in the net.
I can't stand him. So let's see. We got about 2 minutes before we're expecting Victor on. Let's see.
It's all right, Jorge. It's all right. I mean, but there's one thing that I do want to say, because I know I've seen it in social media throughout these years while the Dynamo have been frustratingly mediocre. Is number one, I think people need to understand the more positive-minded members or fans out there in the social medias. They need to understand that just because other fans are more critical about the team than others, that does not make them either less of fans or give you a reason to kick them out or say, well, good riddance kind of thing.
Look, look, all I gotta say is on that, I branded myself with this team. I'm with them for life. I can be as critical as I want on this team.
Yep. And that's what, and we've talked about this ad nauseum, is that the Dynamo for years had always had an issue with people dogging the team or not speaking highly of them. And you have to understand, with an organization that's having an issue right now, media-wise, or getting the coverage from anybody, any talk is good talk in your realm right now. Whether you're making signings or not, if people are talking about it, good. So that's how I feel on that.
See, and so she says Darwin is an upgrade over Kyoto. If we can keep Elise and Manotas, we may have a good season, which is true. But like Albert Elise has already expressed interest to go to Europe. This being his last season, am I correct?
Correct.
Yes. So at that point, if we don't get anything for him, he's already probably more likely to. He's not going to resign unless they just
he's not.
Work out the money.
No,
get something for him. Then it's a double-edged sword because it sucks. Like we're just either way we're not going to have him. But you might as well get something for him.
So, I mean, it's that weird fine line that you have to walk as a GM too, and this is the one time where I don't want to be Matt Jordan. So let's say, Manotas and Elise are tearing it up by the trade deadline. Well, what do you do then? I mean, your stock's not going to be higher, and then if you take the chance to keep them and don't move them till after the season, what happens if they fall off? Well, then that stock's now dropped. So
I mean, look, if I was Matt Jordan, I mean, and if he ended up getting ownership to open up, I want to sign these guys to a fat paycheck.
Manotas more than Elise.
But we're not known for that. We're not known for that. We're not known for going out and signing a Chicharito and stuff. Like it's either sign them to a big massive contract, or thanks for playing with us. See you later.
But see, here's the thing. I think if I was Matt Jordan, I mean, who's been more vocal about wanting to leave? Elise. At least Morrow has been like, yeah, I would like to go out. Oh, by the way, hi Tails. I would like to go out abroad, but right now my focus is with the Houston Dynamo, and so if I was Matt Jordan, I'd be more willing to try to find a way to keep Morrow and sell Elise as soon as possible.
And that's also the unfortunate thing about this league too, is that Major League Soccer, coming from a Honduran league of playing with Olympia, it's just using MLS as a stepping stone to their next ultimate goal, which is playing in Europe. And that's just unfortunate. That's just kind of how it is with our league. But I mean, I don't know. Money talks to you.
Do you have an update on Victor?
He said to give him a couple minutes.
Cool. All right. Let's see.
Justin Stahl.
Yes. Guys, don't forget, if you haven't done so already, please leave a like in this video. Share it.
He beat me to
share it with your friends, and be sure to also check us out the podcast version when it does come out. Last show is available on Google, not Spotify, right?
Yes,
okay.
Spotify.
Google, yes. Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and Stitcher.
Apple.
No, Google. No, I didn't say okay, Google. Jesus. But yes, you can find those. You can find those podcasts there. Also, be sure to check out all of our social media, which we have down there on our screen: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and of course, your YouTube channel at the Peel 2005. The rest of them, the Peel 05.
Also, too, if this is the first time you're tuning in, we really appreciate you guys tuning into the show. We promise we don't bitch about the team the whole time during the season. We actually break down all of their games. We break down the full 90 minutes of the prior game that just happened. We also set them up for the next game, hence the name The Peel, as we like to peel apart the game is kind of what we went with there.
I think that goes into what I was trying to say a little bit before, is that we've mentioned it many times, is that yes, we kind of criticize some of the things that the team is doing bad, but when the team does something good, we say it and we let them know, like, hey, this was a good decision. This isn't just something where we're just going to be negative all the time. We have to keep it realistic. We have to keep it real. Yep. We cannot have orange colored glasses all the time, where it's more than obvious than things are not going as well as they should.
So Don brings up a point. We can't afford to lose Elise for free. We aren't getting $3 or so million from our owners to use. At least Manotas is signed until 2021. And then Jorge says Morrow has said that the end goal is...
Are we serious right now? we really doing this?
Yeah, and it's Victor on, everybody.
Back to
Leave my Back to the Future alone.
I love it.
Because I'm be bringing in my
I love
phones.
it.
Hey, Victor, how's it going? Welcome to the Peel.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey, what's up, Victor? It's been a minute.
Victor, can
you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. Hope you guys had a good holidays and first day of preseason.
Yeah. So speaking of that, did you see anything that really stood out? How was the first day training under Tab?
There's a lot of optimism, like there usually is on the first day. Good energy, everybody's in high spirits. You know, every team's a contender, right, on the first day of preseason still. So, but I think optimism is the biggest thing you take away from it. Tab is just brought a long-needed change to this team, and I mean that's how you expect it. I was listening to you guys for about the first 20 minutes, and man, you got a bit of an interference there.
You guys have lost it.
You guys can hear me all right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we got you good. Yeah, you're good on our end.
Okay. Yeah, so, I mean, just some of the things that y'all were talking about, I mean, I think, well, first of all, Justin's going to hate me. But, you know, one of the first things is, you know, Matt Jordan today obviously said that the roster's more or less complete, and, you know, he's kind of got to be a little politically correct with the way he phrases it. That is kind of what I've heard from other sources, you know, that this team, you know, whatever budget they have set for themselves for signings, I mean, that pretty much most of it went with the Quintero signing. So everything else, I mean, it's business as usual. And I think, Justin, you were saying that, you know, is this ever going to change? Or might have been you or Edson, but I mean, the fact is it's not. I mean, and they've made it clear this is the way they're going to operate. They're going to go with a budget, right? Try to, you know, in their eyes, splash the cash, right? I mean, we've seen it before. Mm-hmm. The one season, it was the buyout of Elise and Cabezas. I think last year, for example, it was the transfers of Mati Vera and Kiki Stuna. And then this year, I think you've seen it in Quintero and Marriage. And, mm-hmm. You know, when we saw the Yarborough thing, I mean, obviously they didn't like the price. And from what I hear, they were the only bidder anyways, you know, the only MLS club interested. They didn't like the price, which I think Lester has published on his Twitter. And that's when they, you know, quit altogether and went for Marriage. So that's, and you know, he's expected to be the starter, so that tells you what their plan is at the goalkeeping position. They're not waiting on Tyler Derrick. They're not going to go after Derek. He's cut for sure. And, you know, I think that's the other thing that Tab has brought to the team. A long needed accountability, right? You guys, I know, have talked about the issues off the field with Tyler Derrick. Romeo Kyoto had question marks. And it appears that Tab, when he came in, was a no-nonsense guy. And he said, you know what, I don't want these kinds of guys on my team. And that's why they're not here.
Good for him. Honestly.
And that's what a lot of it needs to be, you know, is the accountability part, because, you know, sadly enough, you know, when we first had Wilmer Cabrera come over, there was the accountability part. So, you know, he actually ended up getting Kubo to score some goals. Otherwise, you ain't playing.
Yeah, but there was problems with Kubo off the field as well. That, you know.
Oh, absolutely. There was a lot of stuff that
highly covered team.
Position. Mm-hmm.
You know,
there was a lot of
Ryan Mount situation, right? Well, with the Texans, it becomes a big deal, but with the Dynamo, nobody hears about it.
So I'm going to bounce off that real quick. You know, you're a guy who's covered the team for some time now. You know, how hard is it? Yeah, I mean,
wow.
You're on 3 different outlets now: Deporte Total USA, Soccer Matters, and Sports Map Houston. So, like, how hard is it sometimes to cover this team in a market that doesn't I mean, you have us. You have your hardcores, the ones that are definitely going to tune in. They're going to read everything they can with everything that has the color orange on it. How hard is it to cover this team when it sometimes seems like the team's not really about it? I guess is the best way to put it.
Well, covering soccer in the United States is a passion project, as I think you'll see around the country, which is why, the rise of the athletic and outlets that have invested in a soccer reporter, even like the Washington Post, who has for a long time had Stephen Goff, why supporting those outlets is so important, because those are few and far between. I think you have people down here in the media, at least from the people that I've talked to, that want to cover the team, but their outlets just don't make it a priority to do so. And, you can make the case why that is. It's either the editors, maybe they don't have a background of soccer, or they don't respect the sport, or it could just be, and this is why I always go to the attendance. Because what do they have to do in Atlanta? They're forced to cover the game. What do they have to do in Seattle? They're forced to cover the game. LAFC comes in with shiny new fan base, and what do they got to do in LA now? They got to cover the team, because that's the place to be in town. And that's why another reason why maybe just my opinion, why the Dynamo doesn't really care about going raw in attendance, right? Because then you have to put that pressure on yourself. You're going to have TV stations looking at you. You're going to have radio stations. And I say it because we talk about an ownership group that doesn't want to invest in the team more than it has to, right? It's trying to keep it break even. It's similar to very much every other sports league in the United States, where, the league-wide TV contract, league-wide sponsorships, et cetera, kind of help it cover costs, I think. So, I mean, but all of this, I think, to your original question about why, maybe I got drifted away from it. I'm sorry. You want to know how hard is it to cover soccer? Is that basically the root of it?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean...
Well, not just soccer, but the Dynamo. Because it's not hard to cover soccer, because soccer is obviously soccer. I mean, soccer is my favorite sport in this whole world.
Yeah, well, I just told you. I mean, I've done this for 10 years in Houston. And at least I got to say, before I teamed up with Glenn, I mean, it was on my own dime. It was just me. Again, it was a passion project. It was just me going out to training because I wanted to cover the team, write a couple articles here and there. But, I mean, I wasn't making any money off of this. And the full-time guys, again, I mean, they're going to go where their bread and butter is. So, I mean, I think that's why there's a lack of coverage. And I mean, you have talented writers here in town, right? Jesus, Laura, people like me that are freelancing, right? That aren't affiliated with a TV station or a radio station. And again, I think, I mean, freelancing, they're doing this on their own time, except for maybe game days. So they got other jobs. I mean, they got other ways to pay bills, and that's why you don't see them out there. Which is again why the disrespect, right, from the whole Wilmer Cabrera regime of not giving a damn about media and just closing practices, making people wait. And I'm talking about even just, I mean, I think I mentioned this to you guys one time. I remember Dynamo were in the playoffs, and it was just like that little international break. Remember, it was all weird, where there were like 2 weeks between I don't know if it was Portland or Seattle. And even Corey, right? Corey at the time was working with the Chronicle. But Corey was also doing web with the Chronicle, so he kind of had two jobs. And because of that, he had to schedule which days he was going to go out to the Dynamo training. So Corey does the work, goes out there, and then, coach decides not to do interviews. So now the Houston Chronicle doesn't have anything, and this is the only time the reporter was able to go out there, right? I mean, all this stuff contributes to it. We could talk for days about this stuff.
Right.
And that makes a lot of sense, too, from the outside looking in. It's just like a fan perspective, too. There's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that we don't really know about.
Yeah.
Such as, Wilmer not having the open practices for media to attend to, and then what you just told us about Corey with the Houston Chronicle.
Accessibility is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
So if on top of not having media coverage, you're not going to be accessible. I don't know. I don't know what you want, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think a lot of it too is like, okay, so if the Dynamo signed Chicharito Hernandez, how much coverage would they end up getting then?
You think?
Exactly. It would open the floodgates. Am I right? Yeah.
Yeah. I think that question answers itself.
Exactly.
Which is why when you think about it, like even in the marketing perspective and even in the financial perspective, you bring in a Chicharito, let's say $6 million. You're gonna recoup that money really quick. You're gonna get a lot of people talking about the Houston Dynamo, not just in Houston, but nationwide and maybe at an international level. And you're gonna get more people to attend. I mean, what's so hard to understand about these kind of power moves by the Houston Dynamo? But
it hurts to sign that check.
Sure.
What it comes down to.
And yeah. Can I point out something too? So a lot of times, and I'm not even gonna lie, including myself. Okay, I did jump on the Dynamo wagon. I actually jumped on in 2010 when I had our first really bad season. But it carried on through 2012, and that's when I actually started seeing the coverage. Because guess what? We're opening up a new stadium. That stadium was packed because there's a lot of media coverage. Oh crap! There's a new stadium.
Right.
But then it's just, man, there's no consistency in it. There was no consistency on like, okay, so we got to bring these fans back, and it never changed. And it actually just, it got worse.
The biggest thing I've always said, and it's sad, but to me the biggest thing about the Dynamo, and especially under the Canetti as president era, is that there was a lot of missed opportunities. There was a lot of times, a lot of games where it should have been built on, right? I mean, like you said, that whole first year, sellout after sellout, but there was nothing ever done to build long-time fans. It was just kind of like a one-game fix, right? And eventually that all died off. There was no attention to the sporting side of things, and here's where I'll give the owner a bit of leeway, maybe, because he trusted these people. Trust, Canetti and Matt Jordan to be in charge of his project, I would think, and fortunately, badly advised, and it's tough.
Right,
it's tough where they're at now.
I kind of want to jump on. Say, okay, so Swishy brings up. He said, "Yeah, Dynamo ain't gonna outbid LA, even if they had the money relaying into Chicharito." Yeah, I do agree with that now. I absolutely agree with that now. But say, 5-6 years ago, if they actually started marketing towards that crowd and building a team, because we're Houston, I mean, it's still one of the biggest cities in the country, and it can cater towards anybody. If they built their team properly to cater towards all those fans, to pack out that stadium, get you a winning team, yeah, there's probably a chance we could have actually went into the running of actually getting a Chicharito.
So Harry brings up a good point. He says, I posted earlier this week, with ATXFC coming in, I think it's a huge mistake that Houston does not get a top-tier Liga MX players. Everything you hear about Austin, Texas, is that they're looking for one. But everyone says Houston will not pay for one or any named player.
Well, they've tried. I can at least tell you that they've tried. Try to go into Liga MX. Obviously, Yarborough is the one that's been talked about. They just haven't been able to pull a player for whatever reason, whether, they don't want to pony up the money or they just don't think there's a player that's worth it out there. But we've seen that influx this year, which is maybe the other thing, right, that kind of puts them on the spot. Pulido going to Sporting Kansas City. Salarayan going to Columbus Crew. The guy from Morelia going to DC United. I forget his name.
Flores.
Yeah, Flores. And then, just see players like that coming into the league, and right, Fernandez, right before he had his problems in Portland. Portland went out and brought him over. So, not Lodeiro. Rui Diaz was another one, right?
And even at its time, obviously Darwin Quintero coming in, I believe, from America. I think he came from America to Minnesota. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he came from America, and then that's another one. I mean, they didn't get him from Liga MX. He was already in the league, and that's another reason why I think Quintero ends up with the Dynamo.
Yeah. So going back to training today, in the chat, somebody asked about who. So Jorge asked, who did anybody stand out tonight? Like, if any of our players stand out?
Well, I mean, nobody's going to stand out on the first day. It's just essentially everybody's just stretching their legs, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's just getting the first training in and starting from there. It's not. I think the biggest thing is the organization, right? I mean, today is probably the first in a while where I've been training. Well, never maybe. I've been, and it looks like like what a football club's supposed to be, right? What trainings are supposed to look like. And that just goes again to the professionalism of having a coach like Tab.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Which maybe is another thing that I would add to the list of things Tab brings in: professionalism.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You can see that right off the bat. Is how much he holds himself higher than what we had prior than that, you know. Tab Ramos, man, I have a lot of obvious reasons. I have a lot of respect for Tab Ramos. So it's that in itself is big for us. You know, I guess if you want to say that's our big signing this offseason.
Yeah, that would be the best way to put it. That's the biggest signing for the Houston Dynamo, and it doesn't go. That shouldn't be swept under the rug because that really is a big one. Because I think with a better coach, you would have better results these last 3 years. Or even, you know, go back farther than that. Go back, 6 years. You know, not having a proper coach has hurt because this league, I hate to say it, but it's, because like you guys, I'm a fan of the league. But this league is almost made for mediocrity, right? I mean, more than half the teams make it into the playoffs. If you just have a solid team, you avoid silly mistakes, you should get in.
Yeah.
And for them to not make
look
it
at
in,
Seattle last couple years.
5 of the last 6 years?
Seattle.
Yeah, I mean,
Seattle.
look at Seattle.
Yeah.
They will mediocre their way into the playoffs and then win MLS Cup.
And
just string a couple road results together, win at home, and you're in the playoffs.
To their credit, unfortunately, that's the formula. You don't got to be the best team. You don't have to be LAFC to win the MLS Cup. Not every year. So, if you want to compare from that standpoint of why they don't invest as much into the squad, I mean, that's the reason. But I still think that they need difference makers because even in 2017, you could tell they were never going to make the final, and they don't have enough to win it because they didn't have. I mean, the biggest playmaker they had that season was Vicente Sanchez, and he was on his last mileage.
Oh man!
So now you bring in a guy like Quintero, who's he's got a little throw on the tires. Manotas is a little farther along, where you could maybe start counting on him. He does have to take that next step to consistently do it. So does Albert Elise. But you can see why the pieces are maybe there now.
Yeah.
How did you? So I know that you said a lot of the energy was up too. Do you think that? How do you feel the players are going to react to Tab Ramos?
I think. Let me put it this way: players can tell who's a good coach. They're not going to come out and scream the guy publicly, but you know what I mean. They can tell. They're professionals. So I think, like I said, he brings a level of professionalism. The results will have to speak for themselves, but it looks like Tab's a real deal, right? So once those results come in, I think the players will buy in, and you'll see this kind of snowball a little bit. But again, the big question here is how far can they actually get? Can they make the playoffs? I think so, yeah. I don't have a doubt on that. But what are they going to do when they get there? Who are they going to run into? And can they make the final? And that's where the gap is different in the rest of the league, right? Can they beat an LAFC or Seattle or any one of those kind of caliber teams in the playoffs?
And I know we've talked about this about the fact that the Dynamo really needs that clutch player, that player that is going to carry the team when the rest of the team is on a rut or they've lost motivation. And I think right now at this moment we don't have that player, but it seems like the organization just doesn't see that. And I hope that Tab Ramos, with his different way of thinking, actually maybe not this transfer window, but maybe in the next one, try to put as his priority in bringing in a clutch player.
Well, on the joking side here, if they do end up actually trying to go sign a clutch player, don't let James Harden have any say so in that.
Well, this is where the gamble is gonna be seen on Quintero, right? Mm-hmm. They obviously believe that he could be that clutch player, that they can revive some of the spark that he had in Liga MX. And honestly, for MLS, he doesn't have to be the player that he was in Liga MX. But if he brings some of that playmaking ability back, which you would think under a South American manager like Tab, just the playing style, would benefit him more to get to that goal than what it was in Minnesota under Adrian Heath. So maybe it'll work, but that's a big gamble, and the bigger issue here is not, these guys that the new people coming in, right? I mean, like John Walker's president, Tab Ramos is the manager. Unfortunately for them, they're being judged on the past because you guys mentioned, I mean, on the show, the issues from the past, and people are tired of that. And so to get people to believe when you've, sold them on hope for about a decade now, and we've seen the results, that's why people have trouble buying in. So, it's cliche, but it's just going to take time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you look at it from like a tournament standpoint as well, from just the tournament of Major League Soccer, Tab Ramos doesn't have a lot of, I guess, credibility for the tournament style. He's more of from USA.
Well, we don't know, right? I mean,
the U20s, the World Cup. He's kind of more, he's kind of more built for the U.S. Open Cups and the playoffs. Rather than just a conference standings.
Yeah. We don't know. I mean, we haven't seen him in this type of environment, and that's the other question mark, right? I mean, we assume because of the results that he added with the national team, that is going to translate to him being a good club coach, and it very well may not. But I think his chances are good to be able to put something together. And like I said, just need quality coaching in this league, and especially in the type of coaches that we're starting to see now coming into the league, right?
Yeah.
The Almeidas, the Schelottos. You just saw Diego Alonso, right, with Inter Miami. Brian Schmetzer. Savarese in Portland. I mean, this is another reason why, for example, Dominic Kinnear was great for, 06, 07.
The time that he served.
But Dominic Kinnear in today's MLS is phased out.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, yeah, you bring up a good point in that.
So just real quick,
absolutely.
Victor, there were a couple of RGVFC and academy players training with the first team today. Did they, by any chance, mention who those were?
I haven't seen the list. They might publish that. They usually do. Maybe about a day or two after the first day of preseason, they'll publish the list. I know the academy put out a list of their 3 players that were by training. I don't think they've got much of a chance to make the roster at this point. But it's always the introduction, right? Mm-hmm. Being under training. And this is another reason why having a team here, and sorry to say that, not in, by having it in RGV, it takes away this type of opportunity week in and week out for Tab to be able to see these kinds of players.
You're pulling at the heartstrings there. I can already.
But I understand. No, but you're looking at it in the objective way. You understand their point, and I've said it many times. I do understand how that benefits Houston, but the fact of the matter is, and I've said it before, both organizations are pulling in different directions, and it's not going anywhere.
Yeah. I guess to wrap up, it's they're just there right now for training. But it does have a different feel to it that under the Tab regime, and again, this is just from looking at it now. It's not. I mean, the results will speak for themselves, but it definitely seems that they'll have a better shot at making the team. Right? It definitely seems like under Tab there'll be a better, or an actual, if I'm being honest, an actual pathway from the academy to the first team. Tab trained the academy kids for the last 2 weeks, I think, in the first team ground. So, he says he has that open door policy. We'll see. That's another thing another issue, that we don't have to get into now, but, Tab having more of an oversight, with the head coach of the Houston Dynamo, let's put it that way, having more of an oversight over the academy and RGV.
Yes.
I think that's probably the most important thing out of this hire.
Yeah. Not to cut you off here, but we do. No, we really appreciate you calling in and talking to us about this. I think you brought a little bit of a positive energy for us, at least for myself.
Yeah. Victor, where can everybody find you? We allow everybody to give a shameless plug. So, we're not paid for this. So go ahead and plug where they can find you, where they can read all your articles and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so I have Twitter on @Victor Araiza. And I think in my bio you have links to the 3 outlets I currently work for. Sportsmap.com. It's mostly just weekly recaps, but every now and then I'll have a chance to maybe write up something about the Dynamo. Deporte Total USA, which is Spanish. So there's that coverage, and then obviously the radio show with Glenn, Soccer Matters. Which again, that's probably the best place to have a say. I don't know how much we've influenced in getting this organization to change, but I think that's probably been the most important platform as far as making sure they get they hear the issues from the fans and
by the way, y'all and Glenn have done tremendous work during the radio show. It's always nice to listen, especially when he gets Matt Jordan on too. On the show, and they're taking fan calls. I really think that you guys.
Tries, that's another one, right?
Yeah.
Just to go back to the media coverage. This you want to call it shameless plug, right? But that's Glenn putting in the work for what, like almost 2 decades now, since 2002.
Yeah.
So that's another reason why he kind of bangs the drum as far as saying call in and have your say, because when you don't call in and have your say, I'll put it this way, it's my words, but you're kind of wasting his airtime, right? The guy makes it happen, puts it out there, a weekly show, 2 hours on a mainstream radio station. All you got to do is call and have your say.
Yeah.
That's my shameless plug.
Perfect.
Perfect. Thanks again, Victor.
Yes. Victor, we owe you a beer next time we see you, preferably at the game or something.
All right, I'll definitely pick you up on that. Not during the game, but afterwards.
After the game, yes.
Well, Victor.
All right.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Victor.
Have a good night.
Thank you, guys.
Of course.
Yep. Great stuff from you guys and Victor. The chat was on fire.
You guys in the chat are going off tonight. I'm impressed. I'm very happy.
Real quick, before we wrap this up, we got a couple more things to cover just real quick. Again, go ahead and give this video a like, share it, follow us on Twitter at the PL05, Facebook the PL05, and Instagram at the PL05. Like us, share all our stuff, share our actual pages. We want to grow this.
If you like us enough, go ahead and give us a tip too. We do appreciate you, Harry.
Yes.
For sending us a little bit of money there, and then also
it's not mandatory. I know there is a video going around of a girl on the stream is like complaining that she wasn't getting tips. No, it's not mandatory. This isn't this isn't YouTube Premium or anything. But we do appreciate any kind of support, whether it's just a simple like or a share or financial support. We would greatly appreciate.
And then also, just so y'all know, any tips you guys send goes directly back into the show, just to help make the show a lot better here. So and
surprisingly,
and appreciating all of our hard work to our producer Edson for creating all this cool swagger around the screen here.
Yeah. This week I will also be working on some merch. I look to try to give some out. I still got to try to figure out maybe doing a live show, or there's other stuff in the works with individuals from the team, which that email should be going out this week. So I'm working on getting that stuff. I'm going to put my wife to work. She's going to kill me for that. But there is that. Couple other things real quick. Preseason does start. Was that actually? Let me back up. Dynamo Fan Fest is this week, January 25th at BBVA Compass, or not Compass anymore. It's just BBVA Stadium.
It's BBVA.
It's open practice. Look for that. Just go to the Dynamo's website, and you'll find all the information there. February 4th through the 8th, scrimmages with the Dynamo and the Toros, and probably another team to be announced. Probably U2 or UT RGV. Will happen at Edinburgh at HEB Park. And then that takes us to the Tucson Sun Cup, where we will be taking on, and I just had it loaded and I closed it. Damn it.
Real quick, Justin. Harry, I love to hate Edson too. Don't worry. Oh wait, I read that wrong.
February 15th, we do have the Houston Dynamo taking on New York Red Bulls. Please beat them. I know it's preseason, but break legs. It will be greatly appreciated by me. February 19th, we're taking on RSL and Kyle Beckerman, who just re-signed a 1-year deal.
To the happiness of Megan.
Yes, she actually tagged the Peel on the Peel's Facebook page to tell us that they're signing Kyle Beckerman.
Thank you for that, Megan. We really appreciate that.
I don't know how that has to do anything with the Dynamo.
I wouldn't have been able to not knowing that now.
I can finally sleep now.
February 22nd, the Dynamo will take on the Columbus Crew. So there's that. Dynamo have been champions of this tournament once, runners-up another time. They won it, what did I say, Josh, 2017?
2017, they won it. 2018, they were runners-up. And then 2019, let's not go there.
And I closed it out.
Way to go. That's the second time in a row, Justin.
No. It's fine because we really don't have to cover it till next week. But we do have the women's team coming to Houston at the end of the month. They will be in the group stage for the Olympic qualifiers. Tickets are on sale now.
And they are, I believe, 2 for 1.
They're 2 for 1? Most group stage matches that are held here or in Dallas are 2 for 1. Like for the Gold Cup, they're 2 for 1. So it's always good. Go out there, support your World Cup champion U.S. Women's National Team. Something that we'll probably never be able to say about the men. So Terrell says, time for tacos. Good stuff. You guys got anything else tonight?
So just quick, Harry asked, why is there never an SAFC versus Houston friendly? We always get stuck with the team in Frisco. Well, that sounds like an SAFC problem because they're stuck playing against the Toros, which, by the way, we have an overall lead in official match wins over y'all. So so we're still
Edson had to throw that shade out there.
The
Toros might suck ass throughout the season, but they still beat San Antonio.
Oh no! Oh, that's funny.
I mean, it's the same thing the Dynamo did a few years. They were horrible in the regular season, but they still beat Dallas and took the cannon. So
now we don't have now we don't have one or the other, but that's none of my business.
What you got, Josh?
Out to my wife. She is just now entering her the second trimester.
Hell yeah!
I have not announced it to you. Yes, me and my wife are due expecting in July. So
oh god,
you're
gonna
have a
bring
baby
that
girl.
kid in. You're gonna bring that little baby girl into a Dynamo world, and
Yes.
she's gonna hate you for every second of it.
Hey, you know what? Hey, you just called the women's team World Cup champions, and the women's soccer team is much better than the men's. So you know.
I
will say this though: child abuse would be making them a Frisco fan.
Also true.
Or a
actually,
fan.
No. I don't know if I would
I don't
know if I'd have a child if they became a Frisco fan though.
See.
Oh no, that could be up for adoption, wouldn't it?
See, if I had a kid, my son would have a choice. You can either go for the Dynamo or the Toros, or you can get the hell out of my house.
Edson's gonna make a great father.
Edson.
Not to take from Josh's glory, because that when Josh broke that news to me, I was I'm not gonna lie, I had a pretty big fucking tear in my eye. Excuse my language. But I also want to congratulate. It's funny, I'm married and I couldn't tell you when I'm expecting, but my brother and his wife are also expecting. They are 8 weeks along, so it's gonna be kind of cool. Hopefully, I get to business here soon, and all three of us are gonna have kids around the same time.
Oh yeah. Except for me, I'm still single.
But,
You can be Uncle Edson.
I'll be the drunk Mexican uncle.
Can Edson be the drunk uncle?
Wow.
Edson, just buy them a bunch of toys and they'll love you more than they love us. Don't worry.
Y'all got anything else?
I think it's good. Just
hold on.
Jorge.
Pause. Jorge. Go ahead, Josh. Read that one.
Remind me to keep my son away from Edson. Oh man, poor Edson.
Josh, you got anything else?
Oh man, I'm just how many days out are we now?
Ooh.
I thought you had this ready.
29th? Nope. Yeah. I got it. Give me a second. Alexa, how many days till February 29th? We have exactly 40 more days till the start of the season.
Woot.
So and
a month and 10 days.
Nice.
Oh man. Because like I said, man, last time I was going through my withdrawals. You know, you ever seen that meme of like Dave Chappelle and like scratching his neck and stuff? And it's like, y'all got any more of them Dynamos games?
I unfortunately will not be there for the first game of the season. I have prior engagements for the cook-off. I got invited to be part of a cook-off team, so I won't be there. But I'm pretty sure Edson and Josh will both be there.
We'll be there. Be sure, don't forget as well to check out Down in the Valley. I know we had
I did not forget about you.
we had a show 2 weeks ago when we were talking about this whole relationship thing between RGV and the Houston Dynamo. That is also now in podcast form. So be sure to check out SoundCloud at this moment, and SoundCloud and Spotify for the audio version of the show. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at Down in the RGV, as well as Instagram at Down in the RGV, and on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Down in the RGV. Our YouTube page is youtube.com/Down in the Valley. Check us out there. Follow us on like I said, on all your favorite audio podcast platforms, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, or Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and of course SoundCloud. And also check out our website at ditvpodcast.com.
There you go. All right, guys. Well, we are 15 minutes over, which is totally okay because we had a great conversation with Victor today. We need to make that a monthly thing once the season starts. We'll try to get some other writers from around the area that covers Houston or covers the Dynamo. Or maybe we'll try to see if I can get somebody on the national stage too.
And maybe we can actually set up a call-in line again for specific shows. We can have call-ins.
Which it worked today. So Fingers crossed.
Hey,
Yeah.
there you go.
And
There
of
you
course,
go.
don't forget pregame at Rodeo Goats with the Surge supporters group on the 25th. So be sure to check them out.
I am gonna try to reach out.
25th?
29th. 29th, Edson.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Season starts on the 29th.
Yeah. But you get my point.
Yes. So I actually think I'm going to fire off that email this week, or whatever I need to do to try to get leadership of the Surge on the show, whether it's in live form or over the radio or over the phone. I do definitely want to get them on. But I think that's going to do it for us this week, guys. I'm Justin.
I'm Josh.
Edson.
And this is the Peel. We're out.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, guys.
Forever Orange.